I'm coming to you today with rock-solid audio proof that there were at least 2 shooters shooting at Trump and the crowd, and therefore the official story of a lone gunman is complete bunk. Hello everyone, I am Dr. Chris Martinson of Peak Prosperity. This is Explosive. I'm actually nervous to bring this to you because, well, we know how much the deep state, the state, whatever's going on, does not like having its narratives punctured, but obviously there's a lot wrong with the Trump shooting. I'm going to show you rock-solid evidence today, and I'm making this public. I've been chewing on this for a while. I don't have the complete analysis yet. We're going to need more people to weigh in on this, but let me show you what I've got. So we're going to start here. This is day 3 of the cover-up, as we're calling it. And by the way, this is July 18th. I'm going to dedicate this to my brother, John Peter Martinson. He died when he was 23, just a hole ripped out of my heart, and today's his birthday. So I have to make mention of that. So it's for you, John. I know he would have admired this work, and I'm doing this for you, and that's why I'm going to be proud and loud about this. There were 2 shooters, so let's reorient ourselves with the scene again. Let me get my drawing tool out, or my pointing tool. Okay, so first up, they tell us that the shooter was here. This is very accurately located on the roof off of the drain pipe, as we covered before. I'll show you that one more time. I just want to make sure we're all sharing the same orientation because this is important, right? And we have 2 victims here, comparator who died, another guy who's very severely injured. He has life-altering injuries. And then another gentleman back here in the upper right part of the stand. I'm going to show you all this evidence, okay? So first up, we need to know where all the shots went, right? And I'm going to show you that the first 3 shots came from a very different weapon in a different location than the next string of shots that came out. It's either 5 or 6, depending on how you count, but you decide. Listen, it couldn't be more clear how different they are. This is the picture from on the roof of, Crooks lying here dead. There's a little blood trailing down back here, but this allows us to locate him on the roof very, very accurately because of the raised seam metal roof. And now the story is that there's actually, you can't see it in this photo, but there's a 5-foot ladder here. Apparently he came up, would have come across, would have jumped down onto here, would have come up. Maybe that explains why his backpack, if that's what that is left there. Came over to here. Apparently some other cop would have been lifted up and looked over a roof line. I don't know what that is. Now, even in CNN a while ago, this is from CNN, so I'm saying even because these guys are deep state sort of aligned. Operation Mockingbird. They don't print stuff unless it's pre-approved. So somebody allowed this information to come out, and they said here that the first 3 shots were consistent with weapon A, and the next 5 consistent with alleged weapon B, and the final acoustic impulse emitted by a third possible weapon C. I believe that's true, and weapon C is the sniper taking out Crooks, I think. Best guess. I'll give you my big hypothesis at the end. So this was confirmed. This is per audio analysis by Catalin Gregores, director of the National Center for Media Forensics at the University of Colorado in Denver. So I'm sure that her and Cole Whitecotton, a senior professional research associate, they have much better access to much better analysis software and all of that. All I need to get out to you today is something that seems to be missing from the dialogue, and they're trying to run forward with this lone shooter, lone shooter, lone shooter junk, which of course is straight from their playbook. That's how they did it. That's what they did with JFK. They lied about that. That's what they did with RFK. They lied about that. So this is standard from the playbook kind of stuff. Lone nut with a mysterious motive we can't unravel. We're here to unravel all of that, okay? Rock solid, absolutely conclusive. And this is the best part about being alive today. We don't have to wait for 30, 40 years for a Zapruder film and people to sort of analyze it. We're doing this in real time and figuring this out as it's unfolding. And that is the absolute benefit of living in today's world with all these cell phones and cameras. Much harder to get away with really sloppy operations. And this was a sloppy operation because they missed their man, whoever was involved in this. But I can guarantee you that the information I'm presenting to you, they also have. But somehow they're hiding it, which of course is par for the course with these particular crew of people. Okay, and they said audio analysis has confirmed the gunman was 360 to 390 feet, 3 feet away. Okay, according to another forensic expert, Robert Mayer. Yeah, we all end up in the same ballpark. I end up a little closer to 430 feet, but doesn't matter. All within the realm of analytical wiggle room. Okay, So we're going to analyze two separate audio streams today. This is the first one. This is taken from a microphone right in front of the podium. So you're going to hear two things, of course. You're going to hear a snap. Sounds very sharp sound. That's the supersonic crack of the bullet flying within, sending its supersonic shockwave to the microphone. Microphone picks it up like that. And then there's the report of the gun, which follows a little later. Sounds like an echo, so it goes crack thump, crack thump. The crack thump is a well-known tool that snipers would use to estimate how far away somebody is that's shooting them. If there's a very long distance between the crack and the thump, that your shooter's very far away because the bullet flies faster than the speed of sound. So the sound is the explosion of the gun. Boom! That starts traveling towards, the victim down there or whoever's downrange. But the bullet gets there first. And it gets there at supersonic velocity, which means faster than 1,100 feet per second, give or take the altitude and conditions. So if anything's traveling faster than the speed of sound, it has a sonic boom, crack, right? So that's what we're going to hear. You're going to hear first in this tape, you're going to hear 3 very clearly distinct crack thumps. And then things get a little confusing, right? It gets a little fast. And so how do you count and all of that? Whoever put this video together did the counting. Thank you for that. However, I think there's some room for interpretation here as well about that. So without any further ado, this is that
Take
audio
a look at what
we're
happened.
analyzing. Wait. Hang on. You're going to hear one more. There it was. There's that last one. Okay, one more time.
Take a look at what happened.
Listen to this. Okay, you hear that? That's 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then hard to unravel what's happening there because we have echoes. We've got them overstacking each other. So there's 2 supersonic cracks that come in, and later the thumps of the gun come in, the crack thumps. So it gets a little tricky to unravel. So let's do that and go there. Okay. First up, I want a big shout out to Mike Adams at Health Ranger. He was out with this within minutes for those first 3 shots. Clued me in to the idea that we really did need to take a look at the other one. So way to go, Mike. Thank you for picking that up and doing that. All right. This is the audio file. I pulled it into a program called Audacity, right, off of that video. And I find on here 9 separate shots, okay? So I find 3, then a grouping of 5, and then one last one out there. Number 9, I think, this is the sniper shot that would have, I think, looks like it took out Crooks just above the left eyebrow. If you want to go look at those, or, the gross pictures, right? Obviously, he's all bloody and dead. They have that close-up picture of his face, right? And you can actually see a hole right about here over the left eyebrow. So we have those first 3 shots, then we have the 5, and then that last one. I'm not going to worry about the last one as much, but we're going to have to look at these first sets very, very carefully here. So here is video number 1. Just to orient ourselves, I count off of this video 15.8 seconds from the very first to the very last shot. So the AP article that said, Crooks took a shot and was neutralized by snipers within seconds, what they meant was 15.8 seconds, unless I have this story wrong. Next, we're going to look at these first 3 shots here so you understand how we can analyze the rest of them. And so here's the shot. This is the sonic crack. So that's the bullet is the blue arrows, and then the report is going to be the black arrows. So that's the crack thump, crack thump, crack thump. And of course, it was the first bullet that nicked Trump's ear. And again, let me get my thing here. Here's what it sounds like. Okay, so now I've just isolated the sound. There it is. Okay, whoops, sorry. One last time just to make sure we're hearing this right. There's 0.22 seconds between the crack and the thump, and knowing a little bit about the type of the bullet that was used and the caliber of it and the air conditions and things like that, you can estimate the distance of the shooter and how far away the shooter was. So that 0.22 second gap between the crack and the thump is very important because it helps us identify that a gun is being shot from that distance. If there were any other lengths, like if we saw a crack thump, crack thump, crack thump, we would clearly see that that was 2 separate weapons because assuming the first and the last cracked thumps were the same distance apart. So if there's any variation between the crack and the thump, that's when you say, oh, that's a different weapon. So that's one way. The other way is just the tenor, just the sound of the weapon. Does it sound different? Now, this is interesting. This woman here had put up a video on TikTok. I really wish we could get the unaltered, I call it unmolested. I don't need all the words put on there. And it's not a consistent video, so there's edits in there. So I can't, if it ran from beginning to end, we could tell more, but I'm suspecting that we can tell a lot from it. So we're going to bring it up here because this is one of the videos, only videos that I know about that shows, I think, the first stand victim getting shot. So here we go.
Side of Trump. I'm over on the far right or far left of Trump. These are the same bleachers. Watch the top left. These are the same exact bleachers. These are to the left of Trump. Those shots.
Okay. What I've done here is, so I just want us to look at, I just pulled out that one tiny section. You can clearly see a bullet careening off of this railing up here, and it does it with enough force to atomize and vaporize. And so I think this is an important clue. We'll see. So let's just look at that over and over again. Pew! Did you see that? Again. Pew! See that? Okay, whoops. One more time. And again. So you can clearly see this shot happening. Now, this gentleman who's right, and get my laser pointer back, this gentleman right here is in a very, very distinctive American flag shirt of some kind. You can see him hunch over there a little bit, and I'm pretty sure that that shot that you see careening off the rail struck him first. And the reason I think that struck him first, because we showed this before, is from this video that's after the fact. We're on the right side of the stands. You can see he's being brought down. And you can see here he's holding, let me get my laser pointer back. He's holding his right chest, holding that, right, with his left arm is coming over. So his right chest, I don't know the extent of his injuries. I can't find any updates in the media right now, so we're going to be watching out for that. But if he was struck in that upper right chest and the bullet still managed to take something off of the railing into a puff, we see a very clear puff there. I don't think that's a .223 round. .223 round, a little 55 or a 62 grain bullet. When they hit, they tend to tumble. This would have to have had enough force to have nicked Trump's ear, if I'm right about this being the first shot, nicked his ear, traveled in, struck this gentleman, and still had enough force to vaporize either the railing or that was the bullet itself atomizing. That was what that gray puff was. More likely that's a larger caliber round, but that's a guess, pure hypothesis, pure conjecture. I'm just throwing it out there as a placeholder, but that would be more consistent with something, say, in a 308, some 30 caliber sort of a round, something with enough energy to penetrate and still atomize and vaporize on the back railing. But again, just a guess. Doesn't matter, just speculation. It's kind of irrelevant. But again, if we're back here, again so I think you can see that puff right there. See that? Oops, sorry. And puff. 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 So he's been hit, and also it's on his right side. So, and if you see how he's oriented, he's all the way up against the back with his right side tipped towards the back. So this is as high up as you can get. Now, the other thing I need to point out about that is he is all the way in the highest row of bleacher seats. Those things start roughly at about stage level, which is about 3.5, 4 feet in the air, and then they go up level. So if you said it's, I don't know, a foot or foot and a half per level, he's clearly many feet up in the air and he's standing. So that bullet that struck him has to be, I don't know, pick a number, 12, 15 feet in the air, pretty high up. And that's going to become important again in just a second. All right. So this is plausible for the first shot then. Okay. We see here if the shots came from the rooftop shooter first, then comes across the podium. Trump would have been standing right about there and could have struck somebody standing in the back right where that gentleman was with the flag shirt who got hit. So that's entirely plausible, but except it's a little bit more consistent with a rising shot, because if we put the podium at about 3.5 feet, 4, let's call it 4, we'll put Trump at 6'3", but take 3 inches off, so 10 feet. 10 feet, that bullet goes whizzing by his ear. But if this is why we need all the trajectories, that's why we need all this mapped out, that's why we need an absolute accounting of every single shot taken. If that was the first shot that struck that gentleman, okay? And that's why if I had that unmolested video and I could piece it in, I could tell you exactly. So hold this as just a bunch of conjecture until we have more. But if that gentleman was struck by the same bullet that took Trump's ear, that means that thing must have been on a rising trajectory, because Trump's at 10 feet. And then further back, this guy, his chest is probably at 13, 14 feet. It's higher in the air. That would have been more consistent with a shot fired from lower down that was then rising, instead of a shot fired from the roof, which would have been declining and coming down. I'm giving you this because this is going to be in a few slides. You're going to see why I'm making a point about this. Okay, so the audio from video 1, when we look at it here, the first 3 shots we can make complete sense of. Okay, fine. Then there's a 4th shot that arrives, and it does so with the bullet in a report at 0.212 seconds, close enough for government work here, or rough analysis. Here's another bullet and a report, so that's the snap, crack. There's echoes. We see there's echoes, so the bullet makes a and then the sound is echoing, probably off of one of the buildings. We have a lot of flat surfaces back there. So the microphone is here, supersonic crack, and the crack makes it to the microphone, and then it echoes off of something. And so we see the crack and an echo. We could probably very, very accurately estimate how far away that flat surface is off of that echo. And then you get the report itself. Crack, thump, crack, thump. So shots 4 and 5, I'm still pretty good with shots 4 and 5 in terms of being able to make sense of them. From 6 on, man, it gets all kinds of weird. And I'm not going to take you through the weirdness from video 1. To try and resolve what's happening with those other shots, we're now going to turn to video 2. This really clarifies everything and makes the entire case. So we'll listen to it up through the shots, which is about 20 seconds of tape. Yeah, I won't take you through all the screaming and everything. And by the way, not for nothing, but screaming, I don't understand people who just start screaming and then just don't stop in an event like this. So listen past this. It's there's a lot of screaming going on, but you can clearly hear shots 1, 2, and 3, and then you can hear the other string of shots come out. We're going to analyze it. I'll break it down. We'll take a look at it. However, I do want to pre-stage this a little bit, and for yourself, decide for yourself, does 1, 2, and 3, do they sound the same at all compared to the other ones that you hear? Okay, and remember, we already have the analysis from audio experts elsewhere saying there's a difference between weapon A and weapon B. And I can show you that the rounds fired from weapon B were also aimed at the stage. Okay, so this is important. 2 weapons, one fires a string of 3, another fires a string of 5 or 6, depending on how we count, and off they go. And they were also out hitting the crowd and headed towards Trump. Okay, this is important because now we do not have a lone gunman anymore. Okay, so listen up. Here we go. And then that one more. That's the 6 I'm unclear on. Let's listen to this again. Muffled, and then right? That's what I hear. Oh. And a lot of screaming. Okay, so let's analyze this now. Let's go into this with a little bit more depth. So video 2, the way I score it, there's about 16.0 seconds from first to last shot, so very consistent with what we're experiencing on the first audio. So that's nice. They kind of line up pretty well. And here's the whole audio from all that screaming and the shots from video 2. We have in blue the first 3 shots here. We have more shots here from a second weapon. I'm not sure about this one. It has a very different sound, that we heard, and here's the final last shot, which I believe is from, oops, sorry, don't have my thing. You don't know what I'm pointing at. This is the 5 that make a very distinct sound. Here's one with a very different crack in it. That's the 6th shot in the string. And then here we have the final last one, which I think is the sniper weapon, which is probably the one that put the bullet just over the left eye of Crooks on the roof. So we're going to take a closer look at the blue, the red, the blacks here and listen to these things. But once again, let's just listen very carefully, and we'll go back and forth until you're certain of this yourself. Here's just the first 3 shots from that video. I haven't done anything, no audio, I haven't done any enhancements. This is both of these video audio pieces are exactly pulled straight from the video itself. Nothing else. I haven't boosted any, I haven't done any filtering, raw files, okay? So, and by the way, every instinct in me was to try and minimize all the screaming, but I was like, nope. That just like, what did you do? And then there's questions. These are raw files. Here's 1, 2, and 3 to start. Okay, listen to that again. And one more time. Okay, now let's listen to the next string. Ooh. Yeah. Hear that? So 6 sounds different to me, but here's an interesting thing. 1, 2, and 3, besides being muffled and further away, it doesn't have echoes. Here we have, this is a shot here, this one, this peak. Oh, darn it, I don't have my thing up again. Here we go. So this here is a shot. This is an echo. Very clearly an echo, and a shot in an echo, and a shot in an echo. So this is actually critical evidence, because you hear that, there's echoes coming off. So that also allows us, again, to analyze where was this gun. But first up, we just have an absolutely different sound between the first 3. There's no echo. It's much further away. It's more muffled. It's just not in the same place at all. But these next ones, very different sound, totally different weapons. Okay, full stop. We have 2 separate weapons. Plus, we have no echoes coming off of the first 3, and then we do have echoes coming off of the next set. And that last one, that's different. That's not the sniper shot. The sniper shot is another 10 seconds later. So I don't know what number 6 is here, but we're just going to bookmark it for now and go on. So audio analysis conducted by Nick tells us that if those next string of shots, those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, are coming from shooter, who we're going to call shooter 2, because shooter 1 is sending off those muffled ones. Shooter 2 is very consistent. If somebody was on the roof firing something with a 223 round, those, and here's where audio 2 is recorded from. That we've isolated exactly where the person was standing. They were walking, so there's a little movement, but they were basically right here. The echoes we have is perfectly consistent with conditions, atmospheric conditions of the day, to have bounced off of this building, because that's what you need for an echo. You need a hard, flat surface to echo off of. So that's what we got. We have an echo that perfectly lines up with somebody being up there in shooter number 2 position. Now, here's where it gets a little weirder. So what I've done, and this is, I've taken the first timeline. This is the video number 1's audio, and I've lined it up with video number 2's audio. And for the most part, we're in pretty darn good shape, right? Here you can see, so this is the supersonic crack. So that's the crack of the bullet arriving. And I've lined that up with what I did. I just shifted the timelines to line up with, this is the report of the gun. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gun plus a 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've lined up that first blast of the gun with the arrival of the bullet so that it should be consistent, because if you have the explosion, the arrival of it downstream, they ought to line up, right? The timings ought to be the same. So sure enough, shot 1, no problemo, lines up perfectly. This is an echo up top there. Here's the echo down here for shot 1. The top bullet is echoing off of whatever it's echoing up there near the stage. And this is echoing probably off of that building surface we just showed you. So shot 1, 100%, we're good to go. Shot 2, same thing, lines up perfectly. It's got an echo right here. That's that little peak right there. and it's got an echo up top. Everything lines up. Shot 3, though, remember this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one doesn't line up. This one is actually, this shot happens about 0.03 seconds earlier. There's not alignment. It should be right under this peak, but it's not, which means the shot happened 0.03 seconds. It took 0.03 seconds longer for that bullet to get downstream, right? To the microphone in front of the Trump platform there. What does that mean? Well, that means that it's somewhere between, depending on the caliber and, maybe the caliber. I don't have any bullets here. I can't guarantee anything. Depending on a lot of things, the muzzle velocity of whatever this projectile was, and things like that. That 0.03 seconds, assuming it's 2,600 feet per second, that's how fast this thing's traveling. Could be 2,500, could be 3,000. I don't know what they're using, so you have to make some guesses. But it's further away. This implies the possibility that shots 1 and 2, those are fired by crooks, but somebody about 78 to 100 feet further away took shot 3. Then shots 4 and 5 line up again perfectly, but shot 6, hey, that's off the mark again by the same amount. And, there's not quite the echoes that are happening off of shot 3. We don't see the same. There should be an echo right here. There should be an echo right here. We don't see that, not like these big echoes. So there's a chance here, I'm making a chance that there's a possibility of there were 2 weapons being fired that are different from the first one. 1, 2, 3 are from weapon 1. Weapon 2 for sure is in a different spot, but there's a possibility because of those times of weapon 3. So it could be that 1, 2, 4, 5 were taken by crooks on the roof because he heard some stuff going on, decided to take his shots, but 3 and 6 were taken by somebody else another 100 feet away. I don't know. We're going to need more professional audio analysis, but I like it when everything lines up, and everything does line up until we get to there. And then further down the timeline, things get really weird, and things aren't lining up, but we don't know who's firing down at that end of the spectrum either. So some weird stuff down there, but it doesn't line up really well enough for my taste. Okay, so hypothesis. What do we have here? Okay, here's the hypothesis. At least 2 shooters, maybe 3. Don't know. The first 3 shots, I suspect my hypothesis is they came from inside the building. All right? They were inside that, like if Crooks was on the roof, open the window, those shots came in from down below. Why do I think that? Because that ensures that the crack boom are consistent with the patsy on the roof. The angles are the same. The crack boom isn't off. There's nothing to analyze, right? If those first 3 shots come out from below Crooks, then it all lines up, right? And this aligns with what we have from video number 2's audio, where it's more distant, it's a muffled sound that would be more consistent with being inside. We don't have, it's also the upward slope of that bullet, right? Now that begins to line up if it's true that back victim was struck with bullet 1, and also all the lack of echoes. So everything's consistent with that hypothesis, and it's just a hypothesis. I'm just trying to, put some meats on the bones of what might have happened here. Because I know for a fact we had 2 guns, period, maybe 3. I could make a case for 3. I'm not as solid on that. I'm going to wait for expert analysis. But we don't need any further expert analysis to understand there were 2 weapons being fired at the stage, right? Because here's what happened. These next string of shots down here, which I'm highlighting, this is the recording from video 2. This is video 2's, audio 2, video 2. Video 1, which is taken from the microphone right at the front where Trump is, these are sonic signatures. So these booms led to these cracks, right? These explosions of this weapon resulted in bullets making sonic booms right over the microphone down at Trump stage. So let's be clear. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wasn't like, because I can hear it already. They're like, the Beaver County Emergency Services Unit saw him and climbed up and blah, 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 blah. Really, I guess that's what it was. That's not what it was. This second weapon that was fired, leaving the echoes and that sharper crack, that was fired towards the stands. So we have 2 shooters, guaranteed, full stop. Okay. In the second group of shots, I'm positive that 1, 2, 4, and 5, pretty sure those were fired by crooks. Lines up with everything, the echoes, and the snaps recorded downrange, all that. Now, shots 3 and 6 are puzzling. Again, expert analysis will be required here, not me. I'm just a doof with audacity and some common sense. But their delayed arrival downrange suggests they were taken 78 to about 95 feet further back than Crook's position. That would be consistent with somebody being on one of those other roofs just behind him, you know, just in case of mission failure, I guess. I don't know. So my conclusions for today, there are at least 2 distinctly different weapons being fired, at least 2. The first 3 shots further away than the weapons that fired the next 5 to 7 shots because they're muffled. The sonic cracks tell us that everything was fired in Trump's and the audience's direction. That means they weren't taking out crooks with these shots. This means the lone shooter theory is 100% false. And I can't be the only guy who's done this analysis. And how is it possible that we even had CNN saying, oh, you know, experts tell us there were at least 2 weapons, probably 3 with that last final sniper shot, maybe 4. So this tells us that this was a full-on operation. These are the questions that need to be asked. I fear for my safety and everybody else's safety for coming out with this stuff, because one thing we know, they don't like loose ends in these stories, but man, they bollocksed this operation up really badly. Whoever was in charge of it, probably already floating in a river. I don't know what's going to happen to them because they really messed this operation up. It was sloppy. It left all kinds of traces and signatures. And it's very clear that they should have never held that rally in that location. Everybody I've talked to who's professionally trained, and I'm going to get somebody on the program here to talk about this, you would never do it the way that was set up. You had the lines of sight were all wrong. There were too many open places, that the perimeter was too tight. Like everybody, they had 2 sniper teams only 40 yards apart. No, you put them really far apart. The perimeter was way too into, anything out. We were in charge of up to 100 yards, you know, that 140-yard building, that was the local police. There was a gym that was 400 yards away. Normal perimeter is 400 to 500 yards, okay, for an operation like this. So everything stinks to high heaven. We already know that, but it's bizarre to me that we're able to determine here with our Comcast connection that there were at least 2 weapons, and that's just confirming something that's already out there in the public space. This needs to be talked about. Share this as widely as you can. I decided to put all this out public today. There's no further analysis today for my Peak Prosperity subscribers, so this is it. Just, I had to put this all out there. And hey, happy birthday, John. I love you, brother, and I miss you. With that, thanks very much. We'll see you next time. Share this, please. Get it out there.